to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
How does this? Yeah. So, I don't know. We're learning as we go, right?
Yeah, a little bit here.
At least we've gotten compliments on like graphic design.
Yeah. And, everything we've gotten compliments on have been your work, so I was thinking about
that. Hey, I give you enough praise as it is, dude.
I know. I really don't deserve any of it, so I
you deserve it all. You've been amazing. You really have. You've been like the perfect co-host for this ride.
Thank you.
I do have a question for you. What the hell happened these last few days?
I think the easiest way to explain it is one word.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey. It was
I think you're
surprising
right.
In some sense. There was only one surprise, in my opinion, at the draft as far as the Shane Wright thing was concerned.
Yeah, okay. So we were absolutely wrong.
I thought that it was just going to be,
And I texted Neil before this, like, quick shout out to Villapiano. He was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. I'm glad that we did that. He was a good guy. I'm curious what his thoughts are on the Devils pick too.
Yeah. So as far as draft recap goes, I want to hit the top 5, maybe 10, and then hit Columbus's overall draft. Because
they killed it. They absolutely could. And I'm not praising them just because it's the Blue Jackets and I love them. Like,
right.
Like you look at the picks they made, like there's reason to be genuinely excited about this.
I mean, we all know how smart Jarmo is.
Mm-hmm.
At least, Blue Jackets fans, hardcore Blue Jackets fans know how smart this guy is.
Yeah, because I think context is important with all of it because, sometimes if you just look at the general overall success of the franchise, it'd be hard to imagine that a GM that's been here for a decade is successful because they haven't really done much of anything in terms of postseason success. But you have to remember the situation that they came into.
Right. The era that they came into with expansion.
Yeah, and not even just that, but when Jarmo took over, this was a franchise that had made the playoffs once in their history.
Right.
They didn't win any playoff games. This was a franchise that literally had nothing. And all they had was Rick. One of the most well-run organizations, despite the fact that they've had a little bit of chaos in terms of players over the years. Mm-hmm. They've handled it all pretty well, and a lot of that is due to not just Jarmo, but also John Davidson.
JD's been crucial. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be here still, but
he shouldn't. I'm thankful he is, but he shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with the Blue Jackets draft, but I think if we're going to start off a draft recap, we got to start at the top.
We got to start at the top because, I feel like everybody, we've all said that this is one of the most up in the air drafts, right?
Yes.
Because of players not being able to play, because of stocks rising and falling over the past year. And the biggest surprise was something that we kind of predicted.
It was, to me, I don't think the biggest surprise was number 1. Because we talked about it. We talked about how Bob McKenzie put Slavkovsky at 1.
Right.
And how, generally speaking, he's never wrong about that. He hits it damn near every time. So, I was still surprised, but I wasn't shocked. It didn't totally take me aback as nearly as much as number 2 did.
Number 2, the Devils took Simon Nemec.
And it's nothing. I like the player. I really like the player.
Oh, yeah. We thought Columbus could have taken him.
And I was okay with either getting him or Jurček.
Because he was what? Consensus like 5?
He was in that. He was like basically he was consensus 4. Like people thought the way that it was going to go was either Wright or Slafkovsky. Wright or Slafkovsky is going to be 1 or 2. It's going to be one or the other for 1 and 2. And then 3 is going to be Cooley, and then 4 is going to be Nemec, and then 5 is probably going to be Cutter Gauthier, which most people predicted ultimately got right. And then a lot of people also got Jurček to Columbus correct as well. But I like Nemec, the player,
right?
A lot. But
this was a huge draft for Slovak players. Like, wow.
Yeah, because it was 1 and 2. And that's, I love stories like that because, obviously being from the U.S. and, we have a lot of people who listen in Canada, everybody knows North American success as far as hockey is concerned. I
mean, 9 Canadians and 7 Americans taken in the first round.
There's no surprise there with that. That's kind of how it always goes.
Right.
But it's cool when you see some of these, countries that are starting to get better and better at hockey. It's so good for the sport. We mention it all the time. We look at Switzerland, I think, for example. We talked about the success of Roman Josi and, Timo Meyer and
Nico Hischier.
So many, Kevin Fiala, so many different players. And then Latvia, we mentioned, their rise a little bit.
We talk about Elvis, obviously, all the
time. Sadly, before last year, we talked about Matisse.
Teddy Bluger.
Teddy Bluger, Zemgus Girgensons has been in the league for a while.
I keep forgetting he's Latvian.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, so like some of these countries are getting better with it. We've seen some success with Slovakia specifically because obviously you think of Marian Gaborik.
That's the default.
Of Zdeno Chara. You think of I think Marian Hossa is also Slovakian. If
I believe so.
And
I'm not entirely
I believe Tomas Tatar is too. So like Slovakia's had some good players, but it's been a little bit of a drop lately. But this year, the first time ever, the top 2 picks are both that's cool as hell.
That's wild.
But the surprise, it's kind of this balance in my mind of like this cool story of 2 Slovakians going 1 and 2, but also the story of like, holy shit, Shane Wright didn't go 2.
Right, exactly. What was, probably the least surprising pick so far, because again, we're just kind of breezing through the top 10. Logan Cooley staying a lock at 3.
Yeah. I felt like when Shane Wright didn't go 2, that it was still going to be Logan Cooley at 3 because I felt like the Coyotes were in a situation where they just never anticipated a scenario where Shane Wright would become available to them.
Right.
All their homework, the majority of their energy for their first round came into just Logan Cooley, getting to know that player.
Right. This is our guy.
So even when Shane Wright was available, they're like, you know what? We're just going to take Logan Cooley and stick with the guy that we like and that we know.
Right.
Actually, not right.
We were wrong.
Yeah.
I
wasn't surprised by 3. I have no problem with Arizona picking Cooley there. I think that makes sense. But then 4 comes around and Seattle.
Ron Francis, smart man.
I mean, you talk about luck, right? It was interesting. Remember about a year ago when Corey Pronman made that article where he was like, long-term plan for Seattle is getting Matty Beniers, Shane Wright, Connor Bedard.
Wasn't that his list? Didn't he have Shane going 4 in his final list?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Oh my God. I did not think he was going to be right with that. Like I kept laughing at him.
Yeah. I was like, look, I love Corey Pronman, but he's just galaxy braining this. And then it happened. And I was like, oh my God, it's almost like he knows something and I don't.
Right. Exactly. It's almost like he actually, does this for a living. But I mean, like Ron Francis, we knew he's a smart player. He's a smart general manager. And Seattle having center depth now, like a 1-2 punch of Beniers and Wright, and then having Jared McCann as your third line center. And then Yanni Gourde at 4th.
Well, you're not putting him at 4th line center.
Maybe 3rd line wing then.
No, you're putting him in the top 6.
Oh, Yanni, sure.
I would say chances are, I think that Shane Wright should probably be sent back to Major Junior.
I mean, we'll see how
for the timeline for what Seattle wants to do. I think that actually kind of makes some sense for them.
Yeah, maybe take one more year to develop prospects
and because you're not in any rush with this.
Well, that's the thing too, is the biggest reason why Shane dropped. We talked about this with Neil. His interviews had to have been really ugly.
I don't want to say necessarily ugly, because I feel like ugly is this sense of perhaps bad personality traits.
I mean,
this isn't forward Tony D'Angelo, who we'll get into later. This is everything we've heard is that he's too nice.
He's too nice, like even just on the ice. Like he's not.
People questioned a little bit of that killer instinct and that desire. Maybe not desire to be great, but like that fire, that passion that you're looking
for. You always see there are certain players that we see that become consensus number ones, like Connor, like Austin, like Sidney Crosby, who have enough confidence, but they don't turn it into arrogance, right?
Even if they're quiet.
Yeah.
There's a bit like, you don't question confidence or fire, passion in Sidney Crosby. He's one of the most quiet guys on the planet.
Sid and Connor are very quiet. Austin and Ovechkin are two guys that are very loud, but confident at the same time.
And it's not lost on me in terms of like style of play that like the louder guys, like they're the goal scoring kind of freaks,
right?
Like Matthews, Alex Ovechkin, they have those.
And then Connor and Sid are your playmakers and your overall.
Who can score goals, but they're just so sick with the puck. But like they're just so damn quiet, but they're leaders.
Nathan McKinnon's one that's kind of like right in the middle, isn't he?
Nathan McKinnon for a while was this quiet guy, and I think he has gotten so damn frustrated from.
Yeah, I think the last 2 years finally
until 2019 that there was a switch that flipped in him.
Yeah,
where he's just pissed off all the time.
Exactly,
it's fucking awesome,
dude. 2 years ago, I've been in the league 9 years and I haven't won jack shit.
Yeah.
And then he finally wins a Stanley Cup the next year. That's gonna be such a relief for a guy like McKinnon, right?
100%. But I know this guy wasn't a number one pick. But the player that, I felt wrongly Shane Wright was compared to was Patrice Bergeron. He's also one of the most quiet players in the league, but you've never questioned confidence or fire in that guy either.
No.
So, the interview process, I'm sure.
There's a reason why Patrice Bergeron has 5 Selke trophies.
And a cup.
Yep.
And I look at this draft. I don't want to necessarily pin. I think one thing that we do, with sports that I think is wrong is we look at a situation like this and we determine that when a player like Shane Wright doesn't go 1 or 2 or
I thought he was going to fall all the way down to like 5. If he fell to the Flyers, that would have been oh my God, wild. But
I feel like
speaking of wild, Adam and Jesse were all over this. I was watching a bit of their stream for it. And it was they were having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, but I think one thing that we do in this situation is we look at picks 1, 2, and 3. We see Shane Wright not go, and we ask ourselves, what don't they like about Shane Wright?
Right.
Rather than asking, what do they like about Juraj Slafkovsky, Simon Nemeth, or Logan Cooley?
Yeah.
We put more onus on the player who doesn't get selected than credit to the players who do get selected.
Right.
And I think that is a little unfair, especially to someone like Shane Wright. But I will say,
especially to a guy like Nemeth, because the Devils put out an email to all their fans justifying this pick.
Yeah. And I feel like that pick was made more out of need than anything.
Right.
So I get it because they feel confident in their 1-2 punch. Now, I argued that maybe they should go with a guy like Shane Wright if he comes available, or even if he doesn't, go with a guy like Logan Cooley, because if you can have a 1-2-3 punch down the middle that's all elite, that gives you such a major competitive edge. But I understand with them going with Nemec because you don't know the long-term situation with Damon Severson. So you know that you got Dougie Hamilton, but if Severson's not a long-term piece, then that's where Nemec slides in.
So like Subban, he's probably not coming back.
He's probably not coming back. I feel like he's going to sign cheap for somewhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was somewhere north of the border.
Dougie's probably the only lock, really.
They had only on the right side, because on the left side they're going to lock up Jonas Siegenthaler. They like Graves. I think they're going to lock him up too. There's still some questions around Ty Smith, who I'm not a big believer of, but they do have Luke Hughes coming soon. So on the left side of their defense, they're fine. Right. The right side of their defense is where the question marks kind of remain right now. So I get the pick at the end of the day. But my thing with Shane Wright is, if your question about him is about that fire and that passion, that question was answered when he stared down the Montreal table when he was going up to get picked by Seattle.
Right. Yeah.
This guy is pissed.
I mean, you saw that with him just sitting there on the floor. There was that picture that went around of him just looking as grumpy as ever.
Yeah.
Right. And did he not look like a pouting toddler?
Yeah.
In a way.
And I know some people were critical of that, but at the same time, I think that's kind of the passion that teams wanted to see, and that may have been a reason why he did fall. But again, there's also other reasons that he fell to 4. It's not all just, Shane Wright's falling. Like, as I mentioned, Montreal really liked Uri Slafkovsky.
Yep.
The Devils really like Slafkovsky too, so they went with a position of need. They really like Nemec. Arizona always loved Logan Cooley. That wasn't surprising to me, so I get it. But maybe this is the perfect situation for Shane Wright, because he's going to go to a situation where, it's not all on him. He doesn't have to be the savior of the franchise, because Matty Beniers is there too. And he was the first pick. He wasn't the first overall pick, but he was the second, but he was the first pick of Seattle.
Right.
He is their guy.
Yes.
So
building around Beniers and Wright as your 1-2 punch.
When you also have Jared McCann locked up long-term, that's really good, man. I mean, I don't know where they go next year, because if you have a bad season and you have the chance to get Connor Bedard, you have to pick him. But
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Connor Bedard in a second. But we got to breeze through the rest of this top 10 and hit number 12.
Yeah.
And then, maybe talk about a few of the others that Columbus picked. But so Philly gets Cutter Gauthier at 5.
Love that pick. He is
Cutter as a flyer. That's going to be awesome.
Pure goal scorer. I love his fit there. Great personality. Good kid.
They need a guy like this, especially right now.
Yeah.
With Drew long gone at this rate.
I'm not going to name drop on here, but one of my friends works for a certain media company, was at the draft interviewing players, and this person interviewed Cutter and said that Cutter was by far their favorite player to talk to, because he's a really good personality. So I'm excited about that for Philadelphia. I think Cutter's a fit.
I think it's funny how, we were talking about this. He grew up idolizing Sid as his favorite player, and he's going to Philly, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Flyers fans, plug your ears.
When they see him in a Flyers uniform and how he skates and how he shoots the puck, they're not going to care as much.
Probably not. Then it's 6. Noted Alan Walsh client.
Oh my God.
Yarmo selects David Juracek. He kisses the jersey, which is something apparently he's always done.
I want to cry at this pick. I can't remember the last time I was so damn happy at a draft pick.
I know.
I loved the Kent Johnson pick.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the Cole Cylinder pick.
The Corson pick.
I loved Corson, but like, I can't remember a time I was so genuinely happy for a draft pick that the Blue Jackets made than this one, because there's so much uncertainty around Dubois when they made it.
Right.
Same with, you knew that Kent Johnson wasn't going to play immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't expect Cole to be this good this quickly. Corson, we knew would take some time. And I'm thinking, like, just all these picks that I remember, like, actually watching. This is by far the happiest I've ever been at one specific draft pick in my life, because this is the guy that I wanted the entire time.
Top 4 right side of Jiricek and Boqvist.
It's like,
imagine that.
I'm thinking like 3 years down the line. 3 years down the line, you're gonna have Boqvist,
mm-hmm.
Jiricek,
mm-hmm.
Coleman's,
yep,
on the right side, and you're gonna have Werenski on the left side. You potentially Gavrikov
if you lock him up.
If you lock him up, which they really should.
They should. Yes.
Denton Matejchuk, who we'll get into in a bit, who's so talented offensively.
Matejchuk was an interesting pick, and yeah, we'll talk about him in a second.
Oh my God! Just and real quick, I want to see this from Aaron Porcelain real quick about Blue Jackets. I don't know if you saw this.
Oh,
first time since 1956 that a team had 2 picks in the top 12 and went defenseman on both.
For
picks.
Both? Huh.
Yeah. It's not something you see in the national. Like, think about it. There were only 6 teams.
I mean, I said this after the draft. I said this after the first round. This defense is going to be really special.
Yeah. And that's not even like, you've got other guys too who, if they develop, that's great. In Samuel Konasco,
mm-hmm.
Stanislav Svozil.
Yep.
You went out and you got Breszczuk from Carolina in the Domi deal.
Guys waiting in the
Guillaume Richard. Yeah. They've got like Jarmo has paid very specific attention in these last 2 drafts to defense. He went
mm-hmm.
center with the first 2 picks in the 2021 draft, but ever since then, it's been a lot of
Excuse
defense.
me, I'm sorry.
So
yeah, it's just, I'm trying to imagine going into this coming year if Jiricek makes it out of camp, right?
Yeah.
And just thinking of a top 6, like your top 6 of Werenski, Gavrikov, Jiricek, Boqvist, maybe, or like Bean, maybe Peak.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, it's blowing my mind.
Yeah, and it's a defense the defense was towards the bottom of the National Hockey League last year. There's
right.
a lot of the thing I like about the defense, despite that,
mm-hmm.
is it's got so much raw talent.
Yes.
Werenski is a finished product.
Yes.
He's elite. He's really good. Gavrikov is a finished product.
Mm-hmm.
He's elite. I don't think people say it. He is elite.
They don't pay enough attention to him.
Yeah.
He's elite. He's extremely underrated.
It's the market.
Yeah.
It's not the fans. Yeah. It's just national media. If this guy played in a bigger market, if he were in, Toronto, Montreal, hell, even Pittsburgh, New York.
I mean, forward-wise, we have that with Oliver.
Yeah, same deal there. They would get so much more attention, and people would throw them into those categories if they had the attention. So you've got 2 finished products on your left side in mm-hmm. Werenski and Gavrikov, and right. I hope they lock up Gavrikov long term because he is a solution on that defense. Bean had a rough season, very rough season.
Yeah,
but he's got a lot of raw talent.
He's so much fun to watch.
Offensively speaking, yes, the way that he can carry the puck, his shot, like there's a lot that needs to improve with him, but like you can see mm-hmm. the talent on display where if he develops his game a little bit more, Like
Boqvist is the same thing, and
Boqvist definitely the same thing.
Do you want to talk about this now? And then we'll just
Boqvist got a 3-year extension for a really good price.
3 years of our BFF.
At only 2.6 average annual value is
I know
unbelievable deal.
It's amazing value for a guy that you're gonna put stock into growing, right?
And the best part about it is it's not a true short-term deal. Like 3 years.
No, this is a bridge.
Decent amount of time.
This is a true bridge.
Yeah. So you've got this guy under contract for 3 years, and he's still going to be an RFA after it.
Tweet from I gotta find this in our text messages. Tweet from Portsy.
Mm-hmm.
And this will transition us back into just breezing through the draft. With Chicago's pick of Dominic James at 173, the trade last summer between Columbus and Chicago is complete. It reads, CBJ gets Cole Sillinger, David Jiricek, Adam Boqvist, and Jake Bean through the Carolina trade.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago gets Seth Jones, Nolan Allen, and Dominic James.
Yeah. Nolan Allen, who does not project well, transitioning well to the NHL level. Dominic James, I don't know a ton about. And Seth Jones on a horrendously bad deal.
Who wants out even before his contract kicks in.
There is a very, very good chance that this trade is Jarmo's Duchesne deal.
This is right now. This is his all-timer.
And he's made some really fucking good trades. Trading Dano while his stock was really high, along with Anisimov and a couple other players to get Brandon Saad for 2 years, who scored 30 goals in both. Was a really good deal. And then trading Brandon Saad.
Both Saad
back
deals.
to Chicago.
Yeah, both Saad deals.
And getting Artemi fucking Panarin out of it. He has just taken Chicago's lunch money for years.
I mean, Stan Bowman being there for most of that kind of helps
a lot. Yeah. Jarmo Kekalainen, in terms of the hockey, Jarmo Kekalainen is very much one of the major reasons Stan Bowman doesn't have a job. There's other reasons outside of hockey that he also doesn't, but
he's also a very intimidating man.
I think people because Columbus is such a small market, maybe not small market, but they're not
they operate covered. Like a small market. Yes,
they're not nationally covered like a big market. They don't get a lot of media attention. I love it how often they're surprised by how certain people sound. People know how what Kyle Dubas sounds like.
Oh yeah.
And Brian Burke and a lot of these other guys. There's time people will hear Jarmo and they'll be like, "What the fuck?" His voice is so comically deep.
How deep his voice is!
Oh my god,
amazing!
It's amazing.
He always sounds tired.
He does.
Does he not? He always sounds just like.
It's so Columbus Blue Jackets are proud to select David Jiricek. It's like Jesus.
We really like this guy. Let's get this guy. He always just sounds like done. Does he not? Even
his funny quote, his greatest quote of all time, in my opinion, was after the Dubois trade, and when Jody asked him is it tough giving up a guy that used to the third overall,
and you have this boisterous voice in Jody Shelley.
Yeah, and then you get to Jarmo, and he's like, wasn't hard at all. We got the second overall pick of that draft.
Exactly.
It was so fucking funny.
It's the most dry. It's what
the driest answer ever and the most monotone voice, and it's one of the hardest I've ever laughed at.
You know what Jarmo reminds me of in that sense?
What?
Stephen Wright. He's very much a Stephen Wright.
And I just mentioned it. Another trade that Jarmo killed. The PLD for Line and Roslovic.
Oh yeah.
It's Jesus Christ. And he's made so many fucking good deals over the past several years. But this one is just he blew it out of the water.
Yeah, this one is it's a lot of moving pieces. A lot of moving pieces, and it could turn out to be the Duchesne deal for Columbus, like you said. Anyway, speaking of Chicago, they went off the board at 7 with Kevin Korchinski.
Here's a question for you. Okay. Why did they have the 7th overall pick?
Because they are losing fans fast.
Why? What they do?
They finally traded Alex DeBrincat. And I say finally, as in you've been waiting for this. It was kind of only a matter of time.
I'm stunned at the return.
Yeah, this return, for lack of a better term, sucks. Yeah.
It was a pretty comical return. Now, granted, I understand the situation where contract expiring, there's some uncertainty there. I don't care.
He's 24, Jay.
There's no reason you couldn't have gotten more from a team. Like what? Let me ask you a question, Jake. Honest question. What team in the National Hockey League couldn't use Alex DeBrincat right now?
Dude, I literally...
maybe Colorado.
That's about... Maybe Tampa. Maybe Pittsburgh.
No, I think that they could use him. I really do. I think that they absolutely could. Granted, they probably need more on defense, but fuck it. Like, I think they think you'd use it, Alex DeBrincat.
I mean, Chicago could use an Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to rebuild. You're trying to have something for the future. So what you obviously need to do is trade a guy who's only 24 years old, who's already hit 40 goals twice.
Man,
It's like Bowman never left.
Kyle Davidson is going full blow-up rebuild. Full blow-up rebuild.
I don't necessarily blame him in terms of if you don't feel confident that you can extend Alex DeBrincat, you should trade him.
I feel probably the worst in terms of fans. You know, I talk about, fans that I know from Discord and they've become friends and all of this. Poor Lissa. This deal, first of all, let's just say that the deal is, DeBrincat's going to Ottawa.
Yes.
Which
is just so fucking hilarious that of all teams that could have gotten a guy with an expiring deal who actually needs to be paid money is Ottawa.
DeBrincat, Stützle, Batherson.
Josh Norris. Warrington. Brady Tkachuk.
DeBrincat, Norris, Tkachuk.
No, they've got some weapons.
Just imagining line combos, right? But the reason why I say I feel bad for Alyssa, she's completely rescinded her fandom now. Which, I mean, literally, like, you go
come to the good side.
Go on the Discord right now. I dare you, and look at her profile. You know how people tag the teams that they cheer for, in their usernames or whatever?
Agent.
It says UFA.
It's pretty funny.
Poor Lissa. God. Ugh.
We Blue Jackets fan. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, we have a Patrick Laine.
We have an organization that's
competent. We have a competent general manager. So yeah, off the board with Korchinski at 7. Not much really to say about it other than just
a little off. I do like Kevin Korchinski.
Good luck.
I do like him. Here's what my problem with this is.
Make it quick.
The return you got put so much pressure on this kid.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Kevin Korchinski because unless he's the next Duncan Keith who just retired, we can just get that out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, great career.
If he's not that player, people are always going to criticize this fucking guy because of the DeBrincat trade. And I think that's so unfair to him.
Dude, he was traded for Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah.
Essentially. It was DeBrincat for Korchinski, essentially.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. Wishing that kid the best of luck.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully him and Caleb can do something together because You know what I mean?
Caleb's a fine defenseman, I guess. Like their defense sucks. Their top defensemen, like their top two defensemen going into next year are Seth Jones and Jake McCabe.
I know. It's just wow.
Like the third best guy is Connor Murphy.
And I love Connor Murphy because he's a Columbus kid.
Is he really?
Right? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he's a Columbus kid. He came up. I'm pretty sure he came up through the AAA system. I mean, yeah. Steve Yzerman at number 8 for Detroit gets Marco Kasper.
Let me tell you about this pick, Doug. Marco Kasper was not supposed to go 8th. He wasn't really even supposed to go in the top 15. He was probably supposed to go in that like 17 to 22 range, and he got picked at 8th by Steve Yzerman.
I mean, it's
that Steve is an off the board pick, which means he's going to be so fucking good.
Dude, it's Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
If
Steve Yzerman pulls up and picks a kid who is not supposed to go anywhere near where he drafted him, he's going to be so good.
We just had this, last year?
Last year?
Or 2 years ago? When was Sider? 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago. Yeah, because last year he got Simon Edmondson.
Okay, all right.
So like that was actually a reasonable pick, and I still love the pick because Edmondson's a good player. But yeah, we saw that with Mo Seider going 6, and people were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" And now Mo Seider's like a franchise level defenseman.
Yeah.
Like Mo Seider's 20, 21 years old. He's already a top 15 defenseman in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, exactly. He just won the Calder.
Yeah. That's so good.
Stevie Y, dude. Like, that's literally that's Detroit in a nutshell. Is this? He is. Here's a question: if you're gonna rank the top 3 smartest general managers in the National Hockey League right now, and that's not to diminish Joe Sakic, who just won the Jim Gregory Award.
Sakic's in there.
Is Steve Yzerman not number 1?
Steve Yzerman is number 1.
In terms of just smart.
It's Yzerman and Sakic.
Who rounds out the top 3?
I
would probably put Yarmo in the top 5.
Yeah, I think he's in the top. I don't think he's top 3. Part of me wants,
and that's not bias or anything. That's like,
no, he's one of the longer tenured general managers in the National Hockey League. He's been here for a while.
For a reason, yeah.
I'm not sure I want Breezeball. Where do you put him? Because he has helped them win a couple. Helped them win a couple Stanley Cups. Made some good moves, but Yzerman built the team,
right,
for the most part. So that's tough. That's an interesting question that might be something that we do in the future in terms of just ranking
like the top 5 general managers, just in terms of how
they are at their job. Right. If anybody wants to put Sakic 1, I'm not going to argue with them too much.
No.
I think it's Sakic and Yzerman 1 and 2, whichever way you want to put. It's the goalie. It's the goalie discussion. It's Vasi and it's just Sturgeon 1 and 2, and then it's everybody else. That's how the GM works with Yzerman and Sakic.
Right.
Let me just look at the teams real quick.
That's such a good comparison. Oh my god. Savoy was taken 9 by Buffalo, and Matt Savoy, we talked about him in the previous show. He was a guy that a year ago was projected like top 3, top 5.
Yeah.
And then he drops. He's 5'9", $170. He was, really good for Winnipeg last year.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Jake? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
I think Doug Armstrong might be 3.
Yeah?
Armstrong's been there for a while.
Wait. Doug Armstrong is
Blues.
Is the Blues. Okay, because Bill is Arizona's. Okay.
We're not going with Arizona.
Yeah. Doug is in there. Doug's in the conversation.
Since July 1st, 2010. He won GM of the Year in 2011, 2012. He won a Stanley Cup. He's won a conference title, 3 division titles, made the playoffs 8 times. He made the Pavel Buchnevich trade, which was a brilliant trade. Ryan O'Reilly trade was a brilliant trade. Drafted Ville Husso, who helped them a lot this year. He's done a lot of really, really good, smart, and crafty things.
Small things that you don't really notice too much.
Because like when you think of like a really great like trades, fleecings, you think of all the elite players.
You think of huge names, yeah.
But like Pavel Buchnevich is not one of like the bigger names in the national. But
he's recognizable, but yeah, he's not.
That was just a brilliant trade that paid off literally immediately. It was a fleecing the time he made it. It's even worse today. It's going to continue to get worse. But he's not an elite player. But it's moves like that make him really, really smart and really, really good at his job. So I would put Armstrong at 3. Continue with your point.
So back to Savoy.
Yes.
This kid is going to look really nice with Alex Tuck, I think. Like he's going to complement Tuck pretty well.
I also like this pick because, you know, a lot of people I think kind of look at the lack of size. Buffalo is the perfect place to go because, as you mentioned, Alex Tuck is 6'4".
He's a big boy.
Tage Thompson 6'5".
6'7". Tage Thompson is 6'7", Jay.
6'7"?
Yeah, he's a giant.
Good Lord.
He's friggin' huge.
My God. So you got Tage Thompson at center, who's 6'7".
You have Thompson and then Tuck, and then you put Savoy down
Dylan,
there.
and the other one I'm under. Dylan Cousins is 6'3".
Oh,
so if you're going down the middle, just specifically down the middle, Tage Thompson's 6'7", Dylan Cousins 6'3". You can afford to have a smaller center who is more skilled than anything. You know, and they also still have Casey Middlestat, and we'll see what they do with him. But like, I like the fit in Buffalo because,
I mean, you could put Casey on the wing.
Yeah, you can absolutely put Casey on the wing. So they've got some flexibility there. They got Peyton Krebs too.
They do, yeah.
They've got some interesting.
That Jack Eichel trade, coming back to that, man.
Yeah, I like what they're doing in Buffalo.
I still think Kevin won so far.
Kevin has done a pretty good job. Oh, JJ Paterka too. Jack Quinn. They're building some pretty damn good forwards in Buffalo.
Wasn't there an interview recently with like a scout that they have, like one of their head scouts who's been there since the original Eichel days? That, you know, he was asked about the culture change and like just how much it's become such a positive change.
Yeah, it has become, and I've got people who are friends of mine who are now with those Sabres organization, and they will tell you the same thing.
Awesome.
But you know who, and a couple of the people that I've talked to, you know how this kid's being viewed?
How?
5'9" center with a lot of skill and a good shot. They think he could be their next Danny Briere.
Ooh, I like that.
Bring back the good old days, man. I like this kid.
Bring back the
I understand why he slipped a little bit in the draft compared to where he was projected at the beginning of the year. The skill's still there. He's still a damn good player. And
yeah. I mean, 35 goal scorer in juniors.
Yeah, the guy could put the puck in the net.
35 goals, 55 assists in 65 games last year.
Yeah. Nice, like just visually, aesthetically pleasing numbers. 35, 55, 65.
Yeah.
You know,
like you never think of 5 as like a round number, but you think of 5 as like one of those benchmark numbers.
Yeah, right? It is. It's not a round number, but like in my stupid head, it is.
Exactly, right? It's like 5 is an odd number, but it's like it's an even.
But it's the prettiest odd number.
Yeah. You think of 7 as the prettiest number because of like Vegas or whatever, but no, it's 5.
Yeah.
Why are we like this?
I don't know.
Rounding out the top 10, Pavel Mintyukov goes to the Ducks.
Yep.
6'1", $194. Third among OHL defensemen with 62 points. 45 assists.
Yeah. He could dish the puck a little bit.
First with 3 shorthanded goals in 67 games.
He's a threat.
He's a
threat even when he's shorthanded.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else there really is to say on Menchikov.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that just rounds out the top 10 kind of nice.
I think it does. I like it.
It was a very up and down. It was just chaos right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right? The only real lock was Cooley.
Yeah, that kind of,
right?
Yeah. I felt like Cooley was the only lock at 3. Well, I mean, I felt like Cutter was a lock at 5. And then when that happened, Gearcheck was a lock at 6.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 1 was up in the air for a while, and then that got fixed, and then 2 was crazy. 4
Shane dropping all the way to 4 is still what?
Korchinski going at 7 was a surprise. The Blackhawks having the 7th pick was a surprise.
Have you seen all the promotional material from Seattle and Shane Wright right now?
I'm not.
Where it's just the look on Shane's face is just oh, I'm going to tear you all apart.
Yeah.
He's just got this vengeful look on his face that is just I can't wait for this.
And is this not exactly what teams wanted?
The Shane Wright revenge tour is going to be something that's crazy to watch this year. This year, if he makes it.
His first game, whenever it is against Montreal, is going to be
Oh yeah. And then Denton Matachuk in Columbus's second pick at 12, just to finish.
Unbelievable pick. Really like this pick because I think one of the reasons I love the Gearcheck pick is because it feels like such a safe pick in terms of he's going to be good.
We know he's going to be great.
He's going to be very good. He's going to be very steady. He's got a lot of great abilities offensively. He's very solid defensively. He's got good size to him. He's right-hand shot. Perfect for what the Blue Jackets need.
His personality is friggin' beautiful.
Oh, he's adorable, isn't he? He's just such a wholesome guy.
I said, kissing the jersey, and then did you see Svoboda had something where he asked about, he asked him about Columbus, and he was like, "I've never been there. Is it a good city?"
Right.
It was just aw.
Yeah. But this pick, I love it because this one has just so much upside to it. It feels a little bit like
he's got room to grow. He's an undersized defenseman.
It feels like here's the comparison I'll make. David Gearcheck for defenseman, the two that they picked is Cole Sillinger, and the fact that his game, it was obvious it was going to translate. And the question wasn't will it translate, it's how well does it translate in terms of is he going to be elite? Is he just going to be a really solid player? That wasn't too much of a question, right? So, with the 6th overall pick, you get a guy that is going to be very good.
I thought we were going to make this quick. We didn't.
But you go to Den Matachuk, he's a little bit more like Kent Johnson, and there's a lot of raw skill offensively there that if it translates and he rounds out his game well and he develops, he's going to be a superstar.
5'10", $194. He put up 64 points in 65 games.
Yeah, he's a defenseman.
As a defenseman, just under a point a game. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I love that pick. I think it's a really good pick. And there's a bunch of other really good picks that they made too. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. And then, surprises that we had from last show, like Brad Lambert dropping all the way down to 30th.
I wasn't totally surprised by that. I was more surprised at Camel dropping all the way to 17.
Yeah, that's a good steal for Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville's had a very, very good couple of days, eh?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, that'll get us out of here, out of the draft talk, which we spent almost an hour on that. I thought we were going to spend 20 minutes.
You should have known.
I know, it was just how we are, right?
Yep.
This morning, it broke unofficially, and I'm pretty sure they're just working out the kinks now, right?
Yeah.
Filip Forsberg's staying in Smashville.
8-year extension, so he gets the full term, which we always anticipated he was going to get stayed in Nashville. I think for him, it was two things. One, that 8th year was important. It's important for so that was the one of the edges that Nashville had over everybody else, and it's the reason that the NHL does that. They want to give teams a little bit of an edge to keep players
that love it in their market.
I think it's a really good deal in the fact that I thought for sure any Filip Forsberg deal got done either with Nashville or in free agency. He was
Washington.
He was going to get over $9 million.
Yes.
Getting him at 8.5 is really freaking good for Nashville. That is an excellent deal for him.
Oh yeah. 8.5. I mean, we've heard for the last few days that, what was it? He wanted high 8s. Nashville wanted low 8s. Right?
I was stunned that he only wanted high 8s. I thought he was going to want in the $9 million range.
So I'm just thinking, like, how did this not end sooner right in the middle? Right? Yeah. If it was literally only like a few $1,000s difference, how did you not just come to 8.5 like that? Yeah. That's my biggest question, right?
I don't know how that works in terms of
how negotiations go.
How negotiations work. I don't know when they started and whatnot, but
right.
At the end of the day, they got the deal done. It's a very good deal.
He's happy. He's happy to stay
there. And why wouldn't he be? Nashville's such a great city.
Well, it's nice that he's one of those players that I think, obviously everybody wants to win, right? But when you have a place, when you have a market that you love, regardless,
it's both a great city and an outstanding hockey market.
Yeah, you don't think of Nashville as a really good hockey market until
you don't think it's not a traditional hockey market.
No,
but especially in the 2017 playoffs when they made it all the way to the final, they're unbelievable.
It's people need to start paying more attention to the non-traditional markets.
I've always felt like Columbus just they don't need to win a cup. They just need a run similar to the one that Nashville had in 2017 for people to kind of put it on the map as a good hockey market. Because
why do you think people bring up the sweep so often? One, because it was weird.
But two, because it was just look at the crowds in games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Look at the crowds in game 3 against Boston when they won.
Right.
Or you don't even have to go to the series that we won against Tampa or being in the second round against Boston. Look at them in 2014 against the Penguins.
I mean, not just the rivalry thing, but
against Washington, like there's a lot of proof. The proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
With Columbus being a good hockey market, they care. It's just that just because we're not a traditional hockey market, and
dealt a bad hand at the beginning of the franchise.
Yeah, just because the Blue Jackets are the number one thing in their city, Ohio State will always reign supreme.
Oh yeah,
mean that it's not a good market.
Right, exactly. And I mean,
it goes for Nashville.
Nashville is Titans town.
It's the Tennessee Titans, but it's also just the whole state in general. It's you got some people there who do root hard for Vanderbilt when it comes to baseball specifically and other sports, but more so than that, Tennessee
as a whole, just
the Volunteers, they have a pretty big grip on that whole entire state.
It's you never really think too much about Tennessee sports.
Yeah.
Because specifically with Nashville, it's Music City for a reason.
Yeah.
It's that's their big thing.
When you think of Nashville, the sports don't come up first. You think of the music and that kind of culture, and two, the food.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place. So congratulations to the Predators and to Filip Forsberg.
Absolutely. Here's hoping they can go on another run soon. because I really, with that signing, I want to see Forsberg win a cup.
I want to see Nashville do well. I really do. I love that city. I love what they've been building.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. Like it sucked that they lost in 2017. Not just that they lost, but how they lost with the no goal with Golden Citizens. It's just,
and Subban just all dejected afterwards. And
yeah,
because he was a big part of that run.
He was unbelievable. Remember, it was his first year in Nashville, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was right after the trade, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to hit some key points on the regular season schedule because that came out a couple of days ago.
Okay.
So key points, opening night for the season is in Carolina on the 12th of October.
Mm-hmm.
Just like 4 days after the last preseason game?
Okay.
Because because the 8th, right? The 8th, because I remember we talked about the preseason. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we've got the preseason
road game at Carolina to start the season.
Road game at Carolina, and then 2 days later is the home opener against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
All right, so we will start the season 0-2.
And then they go to St. Louis the very next day.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. So one thing is we were on Discord discussing back-to-backs, right?
Yeah.
Toronto's got 14. And we were all having a pissing contest over who has the most back-to-backs, right?
Right.
Toronto has 14. Pittsburgh's got 15. Columbus has the most with 16 back-to-backs. Thanks, Gary.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. Just going through highlights. First game against Pittsburgh is at home on the 22nd of October.
It's also how we end the season.
We end the season. Yeah, we end the season hosting Pittsburgh. That's kind of fun. There's always games that are either on or around my birthday. I went to a game, on my birthday last year.
Was it the Colorado one?
That I can't remember if they played Colorado last year or not.
They did.
Was that okay? Oh yeah, they won.
That was the late goal by Cylinder.
That was the late goal. Yeah, because my dad was all excited. Yeah. Goal's his guy.
Yeah.
And what's funny is the 4th and the 5th of November are a back-to-back against Colorado again, but I won't be able to go.
Pain.
And the big reason why I won't be able to go, the 4th and the 5th is the Global Series in Finland.
Oh.
So that's the big reason why those games are going to be special.
Yeah, it's fun for Patrick Laine.
It's fun for Patrick Laine, fun for Jarmo, fun for Korpisalo.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I'm just trying to go through Colorado, Boston. Christmas break, obviously sandwiched between. Oh, so the 20th is okay. The Christmas break is at Chicago, the Christmas break, and then hosting Buffalo. Feels like just shades of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of games where it's like they feel very similar to where they were last year.
Right.
I don't know why. It's scheduled very, very similarly. But they don't play Toronto until January. I don't think. Until like December, January. From the looks of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not until like mid-January where it's a back-to-back and home.
Oh.
So hitting the big markets, like there's no Toronto until mid-season.
When do they play Montreal?
Montreal is pretty early. Montreal is November. from the looks
When do
of
they play
this.
Arizona?
When do they play Arizona? Right away, the 25th of October. And that's at home. So they play Montreal's first is November 23rd, right around Thanksgiving. And they're coming here.
Fun times.
Vegas comes to
they play in Buffalo. Might make a trip up to there to see that game.
Vegas comes to town in November, like late November. I'm trying to look for Seattle. This is my brain. I'm sorry. I don't mean to drag this on.
Blue Jackets are undefeated against Seattle.
They're in Seattle after Christmas. Oh, no, wait. So they don't play Toronto until like February because January is down here. Yeah, that's really late to play Toronto. That's weird to me.
Right.
But they don't even play Seattle until they go there in late January either. This is a really weird schedule. I'm not gonna lie, this is a weird schedule. They play Florida on the 20th of November. So that's when they get to see the President's Trophy winners. This is, yeah, I don't know. My overall feelings on the schedule are kind of mixed.
Yeah, it's a schedule.
It's a schedule. We get 82 games again. That's nice. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just kind of highlighting bits and pieces of the schedule. And I don't know. It's feels like how they do Columbus all the time.
I mean, you know, they got to schedule things that make the league money. If they're in the interest of making money, they have to do it in the best interest. And what's in their best interest are schedules that favor the teams that bring in the most money.
Right. I can't wait for it. Yeah. I can't wait for Columbus to start actually making this league money.
Yeah.
You know,
it takes time, but you know, a lot of it comes to team success too. You know, Colorado's going to be nationally televised a lot more. Tampa's been nationally televised more lately.
The original 6 teams are always there, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it is.
Pittsburgh's always there.
Yeah. You got to earn that respect over time. I'd have to imagine, as far as money is concerned, the Penguins didn't bring in a lot of money from 1967 to, say, 1985. But then
no, they lost a lot of money.
Yeah, but then over time, they win a couple Stanley Cups with Lemieux and Jan.
Exactly. Lemieux was really the first boost they got.
Then they started to suck again, and they weren't making money. But then they get Sidney Crosby, and I'm getting Malkin and Marc-Andre Fleury, and look what they are. Like there are some markets that take some time. Columbus is going to take some time to get to. There's no reason that they can't be like Pittsburgh. Right. But you have to have success like Pittsburgh to get to that level.
Exactly. Okay. So, yes. Hard turn. Updates on the Russians.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really keep up with this, so you're going to have to kind of carry this.
So Fedotov, what I heard about Fedotov is like he got drugged. There's stuff with like him getting drugged.
Yeah.
I didn't do too much research on it either, at least this morning, but there's stuff with him getting like sedated during his arrest and things.
Yeah.
Which is really shitty.
Yeah.
And I feel for this guy. Right. And another guy is Kirill Kaprizov.
Mm-hmm.
He's wanted.
Yeah.
Like he's like got warrants for his arrest for faking military IDs.
Yeah.
And the biggest update as of now is he's been denied entry back into the US. So this is going to be a pickle for Billy Guerin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I hate smiling at that's really, especially with they've got the cap stuff kicking in this year between the Parise and Suter contracts, right? On top of that.
Yeah, that's tough. Damn. Do we know the reason as to why he's not being allowed entrance back into the U.S.? Is it just because of his warrant?
I don't know if it's just because of the warrant, because this, I just learned that he was denied entry. I'm looking at notifications. I see a Hockey Guy news video, and it just says Kaprizov denied entry into the U.S. So I don't know what Shannon has to say.
A viable option at this point for him?
Oh, going to Canada first?
Going to Canada first, yeah. Just getting the fuck out of Russia.
It could be. I don't know. Like I said, this is fresh for me to see.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a tough scenario because it's been so rough with Russia lately, specifically on athletes.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what that means for others, right? Because obviously we know what's going on with Fedotov for the most part. Now we know that Kaprizov can't just go straight to the U.S.
We also still have the situation overseas with Brittany Griner too.
There is the Grier stuff.
It's interesting with Russia right now with that situation because it's not even just Russian athletes.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I don't know how this gets solved. I'm not smart enough to know that.
No, neither am I.
It does get solved for his safety more than anything.
Right. I'm a film guy. I'm not a history guy. I'm not a geopolitics person.
Yeah.
It's just I hope Kaprizov's going to be okay and that he's going to be able to come over and, do his job. Actually, you know what? I'm just remembering. It's because of work visas.
Okay.
It's because he's having issues getting work visas.
Okay.
So here's hoping he can get that sorted out. It's the same thing with here's a guy that I'm kind of thinking about with all of this, who's had his own can of worms. Toronto's prospect, Rodion Amirov.
What's going on with him?
Well, remember there was, I believe he was having trouble with visas at first, and then he had his whole illness.
Yeah, he had the illness. I knew about that. I didn't know he had any issues with visas. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's and like we mentioned, it's tough with.
I could be wrong.
Certain Russian prospects because I felt like some of them were going to drop as a result of this, and we've seen that happen before. We mentioned Kucherov falling to the second round, as an example. I look at a guy like Kirill Dolzhenkov, who the Blue Jackets got at pick 109, who projects pretty damn well as a player who can translate to the National Hockey League because he's fucking huge.
He's a big boy.
Dicks. And his production in the MHL is pretty damn good, but I felt like he was probably someone who could go in maybe late second, early third, but fell to 109 because I think that there's
a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
I think because we saw, Menchikov went early, and there are a few that did go early, right? Because I think there are some organizations that aren't as worried.
Yeah. And I think that does kind of determine based on location and organization as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I hate to see this happening to anybody, especially, you think about stars in the National Hockey League, like Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah.
You don't want to see it happen to anybody, whether it be a superstar like Kaprizov or even just a prospect like Fedotov. It sucks.
Yeah. I'm just hoping the best for these guys. And,
they're humans at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
And I mean, they're kids too. Kaprizov's only our age.
Yeah, he's 25?
Yeah. Kaprizov's only 24, 25. Fedotov's really young.
Mm-hmm.
And they just want to come over here and work. They want to come over here and earn their living, right?
Yeah.
Because sure, they're hockey players, but that's their job, right? That's how they make a living.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I did see that, if Kaprizov were to be forced into his military service, he would already, like they've said, he'd be, going into the airborne division and all of this stuff. So there's details like that.
Oy.
But it's a tough one. It's just like, I don't know what else there really is to say.
Mm. Yeah.
We talked about Boqvist.
Yep.
And we love this deal. It's a bridge contract, more or less, right? It's like a true bridge.
Yeah, we already talked about it.
Yeah. We don't really need to touch on Grier other than I think he did a decent job.
Yeah, well, did we cover this in the last episode? I think we mentioned it.
We mentioned it. So Mike Grier, first Black general manager in NHL's history. And, they should have done something like this sooner.
Well, and that's where
leave it to the NHL being the last of the four major sports to do something like this, right?
Yeah. And it's just because there's just not a lot of people of color working in hockey, which is a shame. But
right.
To see the first ever Black general manager is really cool.
It's a big step.
He was a good player. He's a really smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Has done a lot in terms of management the last several years.
A lot of scouting stuff, especially recently with the Rangers.
Stuff, I think assistant coaching too, stuff like that.
I think he was development with the Rangers recently, right? Just last year.
Yep, he was most recently with the Rangers. So the Sharks get someone who's got a bunch of different angles of it. Had a career playing, has some experience scouting, has some experience with developing. A lot of different perspectives from Mike Grier, and most importantly, they wanted someone who's familiar with the Sharks organization, who used to play for them, is someone their fans could identify with. So I think it's a fit, and I like it.
I mean, we said that, when it was between him and a couple others, the fact that a former Shark was crucial, seemed kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but like you said, they need someone to connect with the fan base, and
I think Grier's the perfect guy for it. Unbelievable what the Grier family has done with Mike being the general manager of the Sharks, Chris being the general manager of the Dolphins.
Chris's statement was really nice.
Yeah, and it's really cool that they both have the opportunity to be general managers of teams named after, creatures in the sea.
That's like the tiniest detail.
It's like the weirdest thing that I noticed about it. I was like, sharks and dolphins. That's kind of fun.
Right.
Natural predators. World.
Natural predators too.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I thought that was kind of funny. It was slightly amusing to me, so I can't.
I think Mike had a decent first draft, despite only having 2 days to prepare.
Yeah, I mean, you still have a lot of scouts there who can help you out with a lot of that. So
he traded to 11 and had some decent picks. So we'll see where that goes.
Because because they had the 11th pick. And then they traded out of it. They got 27,
45, and
40. Yes, 27, 45. I know. Was it 31? Was the other pick or something like that?
32
because it was the Colorado pick.
Yeah.
So, that's. I liked some of the things that he did. I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. It's a good day for hockey.
It is a good day for hockey. Mostly.
Yeah.
Because really just over the course of the day so far, there really hasn't been too much.
Mm-hmm.
but we got to hit a few more things. So you mentioned just in passing, Duncan Keith retired.
Yeah.
Great career.
Two-time Norris winner, won a Conn Smythe, really good career.
3 Stanley Cups. Despite 2010 being what it is.
Yeah, we're going to just leave that to the side. I don't really feel like getting into that today, but yeah.
No.
Good career. Good career.
Really, really good career. He's probably one of the best, there's a reason why he was named to NHL's 100 list.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
He is a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just, Keith was in Rick's class, right?
Yep.
He was in Nash's class.
Yeah. It was him and Nash, the top 2 players in that draft class.
Got it. He's just, what do you say about Keith other than he was phenomenal through 16 of 17 seasons?
Yeah, he was. His game lasted a very long time. He signed a ridiculously long contract.
Extremely physical defenseman. So a lot of that had to deal with his body.
It's crazy how long he was able to last, being a defenseman who played a lot of ice time every night.
His minutes were always heavy. Yeah.
Several deep Stanley Cup playoff runs, 3 Stanley Cup championships, but a couple times averaging
26 minutes, right? 26 minutes every night.
How long he lasted as a productive defenseman, like legitimately productive. I would say like he's really good for most of his career outside of the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yes, he is a leader. He's like, again, despite what 2010 will tell you.
On ice, he is a leader.
Yes. Despite what 2010 will tell you, on the ice, he's a great leader for a defense corps.
Mm-hmm.
And, we saw that. We saw at the very least the leadership qualities in Edmonton.
He played.
He played, and, it's funny because, we made jokes at the expense of him and CC for decent reason.
Yeah,
but they played fine. Like they both
CC
played.
Was fine. CC was fine. He wasn't an issue, but it was a really good career. He was a really good player, but
Hall of Famer. Like we said,
again, it doesn't change the fact that his career is tainted, in the eyes of the public because of 2010.
Yes.
And it's not just because and here's the thing. Let me specify this as easy as I can. He was just one player. He's not the only person who didn't say anything, okay?
Right.
But I can't help but feel a resentment towards him because he should have been a Blackhawk for life. Mm-hmm. And the only reason he wasn't is because he conveniently got a trade after everything came out.
Right.
The perception around him would have probably been a lot better had he just stayed in Chicago and
actually owned up to things.
Owned it.
Yeah.
You know what? This was going on. We should have been better for him. We should have done more. And
that's the crazy part, going back to even the Cat trade, right? Is they're trying to shed as much of the entirety of the 2010s as possible.
You got to get rid
not just 2010, but they're trying to shed everything. You
got to get rid of that stench. And the one Febreze breath of fresh air in the locker room is the guy you traded in Alex DeBrincat. He was the most mature out of all of it.
And Strome is going to hit the market from the sounds of things.
Which is just so strange that they're not just going to try and qualify.
They're not even, get
draft picks or something. I that boggles my mind. Whatever.
I hope the best for Dylan. Go somewhere where you're respected, dude.
That dude is a Leaf already.
It'd be fun.
There is no chance in my mind that he goes anywhere else other than Toronto.
Oh yeah, Kempe got extended. Good for him. I'm just reading the thing again.
Who?
Adrian Kempe.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Good little deal there. Anyway,
Yeah.
So Keith,
extension movie.
Yeah. Keith, tainted by 2010.
Yeah.
But an absolute Hall of Fame defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Great on ice leader. You know,
I don't think we have anything more to say. I think we've said it all.
Half a point a game defenseman in his career, at least average. Because it was 1,200 games and over 650 points.
I want to say, yeah.
It's like, wow, as a defenseman, amazing.
Yep.
And he was quintessential with Seabrook.
Yeah.
Like, I think when I think of the Chicago Blackhawks defense, those are the two guys, at least in this era, that I think of the most. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks how both of their careers ended. Because they should have been Blackhawks for life, both of them.
Well, Seabrook was.
More or less. Like,
he didn't play for another team.
He didn't play. No, his contract's getting traded like crazy.
Yeah, but he's Blackhawk for life.
Yeah. And Keith should have been.
Yeah, and the reason he's not is for the reason that I mentioned.
For very ugly reasons. So I want to touch on a few more trades, and then I want to end on just paying some respects, because we did have a passing. And I hate making this show like end somber, you know, because this is our post-draft show and it's chaos time, and we're gonna go into free agency in a few days.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be
let's go speed round to
speed round. So so the cat trade, we mentioned all the details of the cat trade already. Chicago again is like fire sailing everybody.
Yeah.
Because they made another trade at the draft where they traded Kirby Dach. Right. How did this trade break down?
Okay. So here's
this was a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah. So first thing that happened was the Canadiens traded one of their young defensemen, Alexander Romanov, who they originally got with a Chicago draft pick in 2018.
Which was weird because this is a guy that they need. This is a guy that they desperately kind of need to keep.
I don't know. Like, he's fine.
I thought he was going to be a piece.
He's not a high-end piece. You know, like I like Romanov, but he's never going to be a first pair defenseman.
Well, no.
So like, you have the opportunity to get the 13th overall pick for him. I say you do it, and that's what they did. So they flipped him to the Islanders for the 13th pick, and I like that trade. However, they then flipped the 13th pick for Kirby Dach.
Well, okay.
Which to me was stupid.
For me, I think, first of all, Romanov going to the Islanders, which is a very defensive organization.
That'll help his game.
It's awesome. And, I mean, him and Dobson together.
Yeah. Like, your top four solidified, so... I don't think the value matches what you traded for. The 13th overall pick for Alexander Romanov doesn't match value-wise, in my opinion. But he is immediate help. Mm-hmm. He's going to play on a defensive team.
Right.
He's going to play with Noah Dobson on the second pair.
Yeah.
That is the best situation Alexander Romanov could have gone into. So
I'm just thinking, like, God, Pelech, Pulock, and Dobson and Romanov.
Yeah, Dobson. And then you've got
Scott Mayfield on your third pair.
With whoever. Maybe it's Sebastian Aho or anybody else.
That's another funny story from this draft, too, is just the clone names.
Yeah, because Elias Pettersson went to the Canucks.
Canucks getting a defenseman named Elias Pettersson at 80th overall.
Sadly, the Devils were not able to draft Jack Hughes.
Aw. Yeah, he went to the Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Jack Hughes went to the Kings, unfortunately. Which, gosh, I know Neil was all excited about wanting to get this Jack Hughes.
Yeah, just because it'd be just for the memes more than
I'm pretty sure we talked about all the clone stuff, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think in terms of just the Dach trade,
Here's a fun tweet for you real quick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know who this is, but I thought it was funny. He's a Kings fan. Do the Kings have Jack Hughes, Alexei Lafreniere, or Kirill Kaprizov? No. But they do have a Jack Hughes, an Alexei Lafreniere, and a Kirill Kasanov.
They got the dollar store versions.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Doc, I think Kent was pretty smart getting Doc, because we know.
I struggle with it because he shouldn't have been the 3rd overall pick in that draft class.
No,
I don't think he's worth the 13th overall pick today. Do you know why I don't like this? I personally feel like if you get the chance to get the 13th overall pick for a guy like Alex Romanov, you do it. But in the grand scheme of things, with the way that things worked out, would I have traded Alex Romanov for Kirby Dach? No. So I hate this for them. They had a chance to really run away and make a good move. Oh, you traded Alex Romanov and you got a high pick and you can use this to help build. And then you went out and you got Kirby Dach, who.
Well, Dach was another piece that I was thinking, why aren't you going to, how is Chicago not going to build around him and DeBrincat? If those are if there are pieces that you need to build around, young pieces that you should focus on, how on your forward core are DeBrincat and Dach not it?
I get why Doc's not it.
I mean, I get that he shouldn't have been 3rd. You haven't seen much production. He's kind of getting more fragile.
Yeah. So like my thing is if I'm Kyle Davidson and I'm running that draft, I'm focusing on getting a long-term extension done for Alex DeBrincat. I'm not trading him, but I am trading Kirby Dach. I had no problem with them trading Kirby Dach. I thought that was their best move of the draft.
Totally fair, I guess. He is going to fill a need in Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, so here's where he gets a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm. He gets a change of scenery.
And there's no pressure for him to be a number 1 center because, they already have Nick Suzuki and Christian Dvorak.
Right. He can go onto your 3rd line he can go onto your 3rd line and he can, learn to be a more defensive centerman.
He's got to improve defensively, and he's got to improve a lot of his game.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that he doesn't have potential. My concern is he's had some injuries, which I think has affected him. I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But like just looking at the overall, the underlying numbers, the general stats, the eye test, I haven't seen it with him, but hopefully this change of scenery will help him because he is still a very big guy. He's 6'4".
Yes.
And there was a reason he was drafted high. I don't think he should have been the 3rd pick, but there was a reason he was supposed to go high in that draft. It's because he is talented.
Yeah. And I mean, it sucked for Chicago, because you lost Dach and Taves at the same time for a long stretch.
For a very, very long stretch. I do think that injury affected him because if you look at that second year, what was it? He had I think 10 points in 18 games.
Yeah, it was.
That's probably the best production of his career so far. He looked like a guy who was actually producing pretty damn well.
But it's also just it's such a small sample.
It's such a small sample size, but it gives you cause to think that maybe if he didn't get hurt, that production could have continued and maybe it manifests itself into more development. I think that injury definitely affected him. And then COVID too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that affected Taves more, the COVID and then whatever other bug he was dealing with.
Yeah. But I think I will give Doc a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that he got drafted and he had to develop during the time of COVID and when he got hurt. While I do give him a little bit of a pass for that, he's not worth the 13th overall pick.
No. Well, all the best to him.
Strange kind of twist and turn. I think Chicago ended up on the better end of it. At least the Islanders got a guy who will fit. the team that got the most risk out of all of it is Montreal. So hopefully it works out for them.
I do, hope the best for Docker, because when he got drafted, I was like, ooh, this kid could be fun. That was actually when
I'm not rooting against him. I'm not. Like I don't root for people to fail unless they're on a rival team. So like I hope he does well. I haven't seen enough to feel it.
Or unless you're the Blackhawks now, just as a whole.
Well, once they get rid of Kane,
literally,
it'll be easier to root for.
It's just like, because I mentioned this with Lissa, right? They're getting rid of literally any ounce of credibility and likability and anything.
Once Kane and Taves are gone, the next move is to get Rocky out of there.
Yeah.
And once that happens, I think you're fine.
It's just such a mess. I feel bad for Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like...
I do feel bad for Kyle Davidson. He's coming into a rough situation.
It's just like, how are you supposed to be the one to clean all of this up? It's...
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so older trade, the Ryan McDonagh trade to Nashville.
Yep.
We've been meaning to cover this one.
Yeah, he got traded to Nashville for next to nothing, which is obvious because this is what happens in a cap league. Tampa needed to offload a lot of the salary. It gives them some flexibility. So
sounds like Palat's not coming back either.
Interesting.
Yeah, all the talks aren't going anywhere, and it sounds like he's going to hit the market.
I'm interested to see where he goes because he feels like the kind of guy who needs to go to a team that's close.
Yes, he needs
a team that can't get over that hump.
Right. Because he was one of those kinds of players for Tampa.
Yeah.
He's one of those transformative catalysts, right?
Yeah, he's a guy that you need to have. Every championship team has.
And the same thing goes for Ryan McDonagh.
Yeah. Yeah, because
despite McDonagh getting older, he's still one of the best defensive defensemen that the league has. He's one of the better shutdown guys.
He's just so steady with everything he does.
Oh, yeah. And, Nashville being a defensive team, it's going to fit him.
Yeah, that's a team that's always been kind of built around their defense back from the days of Ryan Suter and Shea Weber, then to, Ryan Ellis and PK Subban and Roman Yossi.
And now you have Yossi and McDonagh.
Yeah, they've always been trying to kind of build their team around their defense, really ever since they came into the league. So I get it. I think it's a move that makes sense for them.
When your most notable forward early on is David Legwand.
Yeah, from David Legwand to Marty Erat to Filip Forsberg in the Erat trade. Yeah, I get it.
Mikey Fisher.
Mike Fisher is a big part of that for sure. Yeah, no, I like this for Nashville for the short term.
Yeah.
He's got 4 years left on his contract. I think it's a half and half. The first 2 years you were going to love a Ryan McDonagh. The last 2 years have potential to be disasters because
age catches up to everybody at some point.
But who knows? Maybe this guy's like Duncan Keith in the sense that he plays a fuck ton of minutes every night, but he just doesn't slow down at a significant rate. And it takes until he's like 38, 39 for him to really hit.
Where it just crashes?
Yeah. Maybe that's the case. I could see that with Ryan McDonagh.
Yeah, because he was always, as he got older through New York, you could see just how much of a boulder this guy was in New York. And then he goes to Tampa and
he was objectively one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League when he was a Ranger.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no wonder he was the captain for such a long time.
Since he's gone to Tampa, he's just been overshadowed by Victor Hedman.
Plus, it's more leadership for the Predators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, leadership is one of those things that you can never have too much of a good thing. Right? But that's when you know how to lead.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, you do need some followers, but you can never have too many experienced leaders if they're all on the same page. You know what I mean? And McDonough is someone who's a very agreeable person, very good personality. You hear nothing but good things about him.
One of his former teams is dealing with 4 alternate captains. So
yeah, like I like it for Nashville. I do, because you're not giving up much and you're getting a hell of a player. So yeah, good for Nashville.
Oh,
good past several days for Nashville. Eh? You get Forsberg locked up, you get Ryan McDonough, and you get Kemmel at 17. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's not bad. And it's like, you know, Poyle still has gas in his tank.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe in a year, Barry Trotz is your GM. You never know.
Maybe. I want to end the trade talk on this guy because this was a big recent one that we all kind of, at least you and I, laugh at, because it's just Chuck Fletcher still trying to desperately cling on to his job.
Mm-hmm.
So Fletcher trades for Tony DeAngelo,
mm-hmm.
which I'm going to give just the slightest credit. And this isn't much, but I do want to give Tony some credit, because on the ice, he's, you know, he was great in Carolina last year, and you didn't hear much. He kept himself pretty quiet.
Here is the situation. Okay. There's 2 sides to look at this.
Mm-hmm.
The one side is just looking at the trade as an individual and saying value of what is it, second, third, and fourth?
Something like that. Oh yeah. One thing I want to mention, just in passing, going back to Keith, is Chicago's also dealing with cap retention.
Yeah, the recapture penalty, but that doesn't matter because they're not going to be anywhere near the cap ceiling because they got rid of Alex DeBrincat. Although Peter Mrazek does help their cap situation, which is kind of fun.
I guess so. And it helps Toronto's a little bit, but
yeah. So one way of viewing this is you trade a second, a third, and a fourth for Tony DeAngelo at 2 years, $5 million average annual value.
Yeah, so he already got an extension. Yeah.
It's basically the same contract that he had in New York before he got bought out.
The 2-year deal?
Yeah, with the Rangers.
More or less.
So, you know, Tony DeAngelo is a guy, based on his personality, in my opinion, who doesn't last long in certain places. But for 2 years, I think it could work. He is, if you look at his micro stats, one of the worst defensemen.
In terms of defense, yeah.
He's one of the worst defensemen in terms of exits. He is maybe the best defenseman in the National Hockey League offensively. He is just all gas, no brakes. So this is where it becomes interesting, because you have 2 defensemen now who are gifted in different attributes. Tony DeAngelo offensively, Rasmus Ristolainen's got a lot of size, he's got a heavy shot. They're both bad defensively, but you put them with the good defensive coach in John Tortorella.
Yeah, that's okay. I want to talk about the personality clashing.
Yeah.
Between Tortorella and Tony DeAngelo.
And a lot of people think that it's going to be bad. I think it's going to work.
I think with where Torts is now.
I think
Torts has calmed down a lot.
Everybody looks at players who are a little bit louder and they think, oh, that's not going to work with Torts. I think those players were perfect with Torts. I think Torts loves it when a guy gives him lip back. What has he said so often about a lot of players that he loves and respects in the past? He loves players that are stubborn.
That's fair. Yeah, Doobie was pretty stubborn when
Dubinsky was stubborn. He said Cam pretty underratedly stubborn when he first got to Columbus. A lot of different players he said are he loves those players. He loves players that are willing to take. Scott Hartnell, another guy.
Scotty with Torts, oh my God, was the best.
And Scott's got some hilarious Torts stories.
I'm sure he does. He's got plenty.
I think it perfectly works with Torts. So that's one way to view it, where I look at this and I'm like, that's not a bad trade. I actually kind of like this for Philadelphia for that reason.
From that end, yes. I want to read.
Here's a tweet for you.
Are you and I pulling up the same tweet?
Is it 5-hole fantasy hockey?
Yes.
The Flyers have now traded a first.
So here's
3 seconds, 2/3, Nolan Patrick, Phil Myers, Shane Gostisbehere, and a fourth, along with $10 million in cap for Rasmus Ristolainen, Tony DeAngelo, and the ghost of Bryan Ellis.
I have a different one.
Okay.
Under Chuck Fletcher, in Owen Tippett, Cam Atkinson, Rasmus Ristolainen, Tony DeAngelo, now Ryan Ellis, a 2022 7th, which was 220th, a 2023 3rd, and a 2024 1st. Out. Starting big, Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
German Rubtsov. Bless you.
As fast as I could, but
German Rubtsov, Connor Bunneman. I friggin' love that name, by the way.
Connor Bunneman.
Yeah,
it's like the most hockey name ever.
Just Bunny as a nickname is awesome. Jakub Voracek coming home. Nolan Patrick, Filip Myers, Robert Hagg, Shane Gostisbehere, and that's just the players, Jay. That's just the roster players.
Yes. And then there's a lot of draft.
There is the 2021 first, which was 13th overall. 2022.
Isaac Rosen, right?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say that's right. I could ask Ash, who's the noted SDPN Flyers fan. Shout out to more SDPN folks. You know, it's been a fun community.
Yeah.
It's a great Discord. The 2022 second, which was 36th, 2022 fourth, which was 101st, 2022 seventh, which was 216th, 2023 second and third, and a 2024 second and fifth. That's all under Chuck Fletcher.
Good Lord.
Yeah. This guy, is he trying to save his job?
He is, because he is chucking so many futures.
He's chucking?
Yeah. Glad he caught that. Yeah. To try and get some sort of success in the present. So it won't work.
No, because did you see them last year?
Yeah.
They're such an up and down franchise. It wouldn't surprise me if they go either way. Like if they create
they're making the playoffs next year.
Because that's just what they do. They make and then they miss. And when they miss hard. Right? That's just what the Flyers do. It's so weird. But yeah, Chuck Fletcher started off with the Parisi and Suter contracts.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Philly. He starts screwing around in there. And now it's just like, what? Where does he ruin next? It's like everything Chuck touches turns to dust.
Yeah.
Which is, or at the very least, it turns into inflated.
Anything good, he just chucks into the gutter.
God damn it.
Chucks into the cutter.
Okay, all right. Try to save face with a 2-for-1 special. All right.
Yeah.
Just like
give the people what they want. All
just
right.
like the
let's wrap this up.
Just like the 2 years of Tony DeAngelo. So wrapping this up, I want to pay big respects. I feel like, we didn't grow up with this guy as much.
No.
But Bryan Marchment passed away just a few days ago. And super young. As young as a lot of these new coaching hires. He was only 53.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He is a defenseman. He played for the Jets, Blackhawks, Whalers, Oilers, Tampa Bay, Sharks, Avs, Maple Leafs, and Flames. Jesus Christ, he played for a lot of different teams.
Yeah, he did. Huge physical forward. Like, we talk about Jerome McGinley as a typical power forward. Bryan Marchment's in there too.
And you know who else is? His son.
Mason, yeah.
Feel bad for Mason. Mason's a good kid. We didn't get to really grow up with Bryan, but we got to grow up with.
We're getting to grow up with Mason,
and Mason's an awesome player.
He was.
I feel for him.
Yeah, he was dynamite with the Panthers the last couple of years,
mm-hmm.
And he never really got his shot in Toronto.
Yeah, boy, they could use a guy like him.
Huh? They could use a guy like him right now. But yeah, all the condolences to Mason and his mom and the rest of the family. Because it's just, like I said, 53 is too young.
Way too young. Way too young.
Do we know what his cause of death was?
I have no idea.
So what happened, it broke pre-draft. It was like, the morning of day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was very sudden. Grier had just come out of the news.
Mm-hmm.
And then this, because all the Sharks news was coming out, I learned about it through the Sharks end of, Twitter and Discord.
Right.
So
and they I will say, like, a lot of different teams.
Right, because he was a scout too.
Right? Yeah, a lot of different teams paid their respects to him at the draft, which was really nice. It was really beautiful.
Because he was a scout with the Sharks at the time.
Yeah. So that was at least nice to see everybody pay their respects, which was really sweet. So
little really, moment really of silence.
Yeah, really, really sad, but hell of a career, hell of a person, has a hell of a son. Gone way too early.
Gone way, way too early. He could have been. I know he was a scout, but he's another guy that I can see coaching.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah,
could have seen coaching. Maybe move up through the ranks. In management. It sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah, it's just such a shame, and it's crazy because like we don't even know the cause of death because of how sudden the news broke. Right? It's not like we need to know what the cause of death is, because that's obviously for his family to know, and that's not for fans, but all the best to the Marchment family. This episode, I don't want to dedicate it to Bryan because the big thing with this show was, at least on the Columbus side of things, was Boqvist. So we're calling this Besties.
Yeah.
And just as a silly note. But yeah, condolences. Rest in peace to Bryan Marchment. All the best to Mason. And here's hoping that Mason has a good career.
Yeah.
Because Mason's in that show me territory, right? And he kind of started showing it.
He is. And I'm pretty sure he's a free agent next week, isn't that?
I don't think Florida's going to keep him, no.
No, they don't have the money. So he might get a really good opportunity to get a good deal. So who knows? Maybe he goes to San Jose or something like that. You never know.
If he goes to one of his dad's former teams, that would just be
so cool.
Great.
Yeah.
And then he just lights it up in honor of his dad. I'm sure that first goal, he's going to kiss the sky.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, right? So yeah, now that we are post-draft and that we are in off-season mode, we're cutting down the schedule just to weekends. So we'll see you next Saturday, y'all.
See ya.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.